Live from the Burbank First United Methodist Church on Glen Oaks Boulevard, the youth group proudly presents Cooking with Connie!
Woo! Hey!
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight and supporting the Burbank First United Methodist Youth Group. It is Shrove Tuesday, and I welcome you to Cooking with Connie. So we're going to make pancakes tonight. I'm kind of sad, just a little bit, because we should be actually filling this hall with our laughter next year. But for now, we're going to make them at home so you can still enjoy them. Oh, and by the way, next year, be sure you still come to eat pancakes, even though you already know how to make them, because it's all in the company. So you got a package that had the mix in it. So this is the mix that my dad always made and my brother, and they always made it for me, and I had to mix it myself this year. So some of you saw I had a Facebook post. It was pretty stressful. I had to make 50-pound bag of cake flour, because you only otherwise had a little box like this, or a 50-pound bag. So we made a whole lot, and we've used it all up, and it's out there, and you're making it tonight. But I do want to show you how to make it yourself at home. And I've measured it all out, so you can see how easy this is. There's only 5 ingredients: Swan's cake flour, sugar, baking soda, salt, baking powder, and that's it. 5 things. So we measured out 1.25 cups of cake flour. And for those of you that bake, you always know that sifting is the best because it makes everything light. So you put your sifter, you add your sugar, you add your baking soda, you add your salt. I think I missed a little of this. You always want that in there. And then you want your baking powder. And basically, that's how you make the mix. I've told you all this. It's kind of terrible. You might not need me ever again. And then you sift it. Now, I will tell you that I gave you the recipe. This is the recipe, the 1/4 cup. But personally, I would double or triple that and then put it in a nice airtight container, and it will stay for months and make you pancakes on the weekend mornings. So now that you know that, that's all there is to making pancakes. Now you have your mix. So here we go. We're going into the kitchen now, and we are going to now make the mix for tonight. So many of you youth group members know how we start this. Some of you have helped me make it. We start with 2 eggs. Or maybe 9 when I'm making a big batch in the kitchen. And then you whisk them very well, because you don't want the white part in there. You want it all nice and incorporated together. You do that. And then you're going to add the buttermilk. Here's the buttermilk. Now, I've already opened it and measured it out, but always remember, when you're making buttermilk, the first thing you do is shake it. It needs a good shake. So always remember that. Shake your buttermilk, and then you put the buttermilk in. And you mix that really well. Now you're going to add the flour, your mix. So here's where it gets kind of personal. Some people like thin pancakes. Some people like them super thick. Some people like them just right. Well, that's me. I like them just right. But the best thing about making your own pancakes is that you get to make them how you like them. So if you like them thin, maybe more crepey-like, that 1.25 cup on that mix that goes with this is kind of a thin pancake, because you can always add a little more. So this is 1/2 cup, and this you don't have to measure super careful. That's 1, and I'm just thinking, that's about 1/4 that's good. When you measure your mix, I want you to be exact. I want you to take that teaspoon and put your baking soda and level it off, because baking is all about chemistry. And these mixes have developed over the years with just the right amount of leavening. That means that makes it rise. That's what the soda and the salt do for it. It helps it rise. So you have to be sure that your mix with baking is always accurate to your recipe. It's not a place to fudge around, which is probably why I'm, at my heart, not a very good baker, let's be honest, because I'm a little too fudgy. But not with that. That was very stressful to make that mix because I had to be very good with my calculations. Now, I'm stirring it, as you can see. I am not beating it to death, which is something I have said to many a youth group young man over the years, helping me out in the kitchen. Please don't beat it to death. Stir it nice and gentle. There's lumps in it. Good, it's done. That's all there was to it. No. Melted butter is very important. Now, put the melted butter in and gently give it a couple more stirs until you can just see that, the butter's not floating on it anymore. Pancakes. You've done it. Now, for those of you who've also been in the kitchen with me, you know that this is the magic tool. This is the pancake dropper that we can use to make hundreds in a night of pancakes. But we don't use it at home. You don't have one at home, so it's going to go over there because we don't have one at home. We just have a handy dandy, I like this 1/4 cup measurer, to ladle my pancakes out. Now I like this one because it's got a little spout on the end so it pours nice. And it just close down. Of course, you don't need to be pouring up here from your eyes. You just need to pour close down. And 1/4 cup looks really nice on this. Are any of you doing this at home right now along with me? Are you actually making them, or are you just watching the first round?
We do have some thumbs up on the screen, Connie. We have some thumbs up, confirmed pancake making.
Oh, I love to see that. We're going to have you can put questions in later to Chris.
It's true. If you have any questions, I will be monitoring the chat. I will ask Connie. Connie, are you okay with some questions right now that we already have?
Okay, before you answer that question,
right.
I just want to talk about the grill here. Those of you who've also been in the kitchen with me know, and if you haven't, you've missed the joy, wait till next year, of our big, giant steel griddle. It was made by the Boy Scout dads probably, I would say the turn of the century, but it's probably the early 1950s. This is so heavy, 2 men, or me and Kenny, to lift it up onto the stove, and then we light the burners underneath it. And then we also have a flat griddle in there, and we light the burner under that. Now, those burners are not calibrated like this nice thing here is at 350 degrees. I hope, because the tip is kind of broken here. So when you can't be sure exactly how hot it is at first, this is why the first batch usually burns on me, because it's hotter on this side. There's 4 sets of burners under the big griddle, and you calibrate it. You calibrate it. If you're in the kitchen, do you miss coming to eat that first group of sacrifices? You're not a veteran until you've had a sacrifice pancake. So, oh wait, one other thing. That's why this little griddle is a gem. 350 degrees, and it cooks your pancakes, and you usually don't have to throw out the first batch. 1995, you know what? It's really good, and you can also make quesadillas on it for a party, or yourself, or just to feed Chris lunch. Chris, I'm ready for a question.
All right. Well, you kind of just touched base on one of the questions we had, which is why doesn't the first batch of pancakes cook as well as later batches? Sounds like it's just
it's a heat issue.
The heat issue.
Maybe you're cooking them in a cast iron pan on the stove. That's the same kind of thing. You're not sure exactly what that temperature is because it's just, you're turning the knob. So you kind of have to play with it, and you'll lose a few of them. But I think these will all be okay, except that I think I poured them too big for the first batch, but
So preheating is essential.
preheating is definitely essential.
So we also had a Facebook question that says, I enjoy silver dollar pancakes, but Gavin, shout out to Gavin, finds them to be a bit flat. How do you make pancakes consistently fluffy?
Okay, Mr. Barron, my dad, not Brother Jerry. Fresh eggs, fresh buttermilk. This is what makes fluffy pancakes, and that you make the mix a little thicker. Again, if half your family likes thin pancakes, you'll have to make 2 batches. But basically, any mix that you buy out of the store has powdered eggs and powdered buttermilk in it. And just because of the nature of that, it not being fresh, it doesn't have the leavening, which is a word about lifting, uplifting. To leaven is to raise. That's a good biblical word, yeah. So, fresh eggs, fresh buttermilk, and that's the only difference and the real secret, except to tell you that this recipe is not a secret. You can find it anywhere. It's just an old-fashioned, probably 100 or more years old recipe, but nobody just makes it that way anymore. That's all because life has gotten busy. Here's a trick here. Now, if you remember, this is me doing it the first time, again, on a little griddle with a thing that I'm used to my thing. I put too much mix on there, and they've like had a Vulcan mind meld here. But that doesn't stop us. You just take your little spatula, and you cut through that.
So Connie, I see one really good question here.
Look at that one. I'm ready.
Are you supposed to mix the cinnamon sugar in the pancake mix?
Well, my dad would say no. We did it with the cinnamon sugar that you dusted on the top. But there's nothing that can say that you couldn't put some cinnamon in the mix here. Okay, this is the place because you left the door open for me, Chris. Everybody, had a number of people talk to me on Facebook about our pumpkin pancakes. They loved Barron's pumpkin pancakes. So they came about because somebody asked him to make them. This was long before pumpkin was very cool and in. And Jerry and my dad spent a lot of time going over different ways to make it because we made pumpkin pies, so we always had pumpkin mix. Jerry roasted fresh pumpkins. He made it 10 different ways, adding canned pumpkin puree, fresh pumpkin, and they were terrible. Just terrible. That's all I can say. The consistency was bad. It just never worked. This was Jerry and I. Dad comes over and says, "What are you doing?" So, "Dad, we're making pumpkin pancakes, but it's not working out too well yet." It goes like this. He turns around. Some of you have been in the kitchen at Barron's and remember there was a wall that was filled with all the spices from Farmer Brothers. And he just went, pulled out. Now, this is not it. This is all I could find here. But he pulled out pumpkin pie spice. Put it in the mix. Stirred it up. Yeah, it's nice and pumpkiny. And that's how you make pumpkin pancakes at Barron's. I hope I haven't shattered too many of you, but it's the best thing. So if you could put pumpkin pie spice in there, of course you can put cinnamon because cinnamon is in pumpkin pie spice. So that's the answer to that question.
All right, I appreciate it. I think there might have been some confusion because there was the sugar cinnamon mix in there, so not 100% sure, but it's for the dusting. It's like the pixie dust to make you fly.
It is.
The Wieblers are lost. That's my family. Love you guys. That's why, but I think this is a good time to say that if you are lost, there is instructions that came in the bag that you can also go back through and look at if maybe you missed something or something's not going right. In the bag, Connie gave you printed instructions on how to do everything, so you can always go back and look. That's mostly for my wife. I love you. Do the pancakes cook better after the batter sits for a while?
It can. Or they'll thicken up a little possibly, but I don't really think that that's that big of a deal because how many, we make them at Shrove Tuesday and we just keep making them and making them. Make one right after the other at Barron's. Now, ooh, maybe these are some littler ones. How's that? Now, for my wonderful Vittorio family.
They are on. We can see them. They are waving right now.
In Georgia, yes? I got that right?
Yep.
In Georgia. They made them early with the little ones because we were a little late back there. But they made a Mickey Mouse one, and I'm showing you that I can make a Mickey Mouse one too.
Now, while you're making that Mickey Mouse one,
Oh, Mickey's had a bad ear over here.
can we put blueberries in the pancakes?
Now, this is the time. I was going to have blueberries. Darn it. This would be the time, once they're down right here, that you would add blueberries, you would add nuts, you can add bananas. Not my favorite thing because bananas get really hot and gushy in there. That's just my own personal thing. I like to put bananas on top. But this would be where you'd put bananas, blueberries. Raisins and cranberries, they don't do very well in here like this.
People are saying chocolate chips.
Absolutely.
So you want to wait for them to cook for a little bit before you put that stuff in.
I wait just a little bit.
That's good to know because that's not how Chris rolls. I just throw everything in and throw it on a griddle, and that's probably why they do not turn out as good as you.
And by probably, I mean that's exactly why.
I don't know if any of you have ever seen there's some things where they take pancake batter and they put it in a squeezy tube and they make faces and real artists work and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's done in layering too. So they do the outer first and then they do the arty face work. It's a whole.
Now we also have some people saying that their batter has turned out too thick. How do you remedy if your batter a little bit of extra buttermilk?
Splash. Just a little splash. That's all.
Now I see that buttermilk is cultured buttermilk. Is that the type of buttermilk that like goes to the opera and drinks fine wine?
Well, of course, Chris. What Burbank First would have nothing but cultured buttermilk. But what is buttermilk, right? Buttermilk is a fermented dairy drink. And yes, Katie Trimble, even though you're at school and not watching this tonight, you drink kefir, and it's very much the same kind of an item, only the kefir's been sweetened more. And buttermilk was made from the liquid that was left over after making butter. And even though I'm a grandparent now, my grandparents, my dad and my father-in-law loved buttermilk. They drank it by the glassful. I've never quite been able to do that myself. But Chris, what else can we do with buttermilk?
Well, we talked about this beforehand. And before I get to that, I do want to answer. Somebody asked, let me see where the question is the baking powder and salt already in the mix? Yes. Yes.
I was just showing you that because the next time when you've used up all your mix, you're going to want to make your own. And I wanted you to see how really simple it is.
But we were talking, and this goes straight out to my daughter Vivian, who is a ranch connoisseur. Connie was telling me that you can use any leftover buttermilk, because some of you might have some leftover buttermilk after you've made your pancakes for the week. You can make ranch dressing.
This is not the right one, but it's all I had in the kitchen. But you just get the ranch, the Hidden Valley Ranch package mix, and you use buttermilk and mayonnaise, or you can add sour cream or low-fat Greek yogurt. And once you make your ranch dressing like that, you'll never go back. It's really delicious. And it's very easy with buttermilk and incredibly cheaper. Oh, and else buttermilk. Blue cheese dressing. My mother made blue cheese. It's one of those things that I regret not getting the recipe written down for. But blue cheese dressing is buttermilk, mayonnaise, sour cream, blue cheese crumbles. If my mom made it, it had to have had Liam Perrin's Worcestershire in it, and I'm sure there's a few other things, but now I have this real urge to go figure out how to make my mom's blue cheese again. Okay, so everybody wonders about turning pancakes.
This is so funny that you're bringing that up, because that was literally the question I was about to ask. That was on the screen.
So there's lots of little bubbles forming in here. I think Rocky's trying to go in. And I sometimes, you can pick up the corner and see, oh, look at there, that's looking nice. Oh, and here's, these little things are very slick. This is housewife stuff, and I've always been used to kind of a metal spatula, so I always kind of stumble and struggle with home stuff, because you have to use Teflon on these kind of things. Do it fast and get under it, and then turn it. See how I was nice and close to the griddle? Please don't do that, even though this one had cooked a lot. If this hadn't been quite so cooked, all the insides would have gone across, and then you'd been doing, oh, everybody. This is beautiful. Don't let Disney come over and get me for copywriting, because this is Mortimer mouse. I think Mortimer's one of the names. It's some other kind of mouse pancake, but certainly not. Now, somebody who asked about the cinnamon sugar, I personally always like to just dust it like this and do a roll up. Anybody eat your pancake like this? Those are pancakes. Any more questions?
We don't have any questions, but we have a lot of great comments. Calvin Wilkinson says, delish. This comment says, our friend Bob has to work late, so he and his wife made them yesterday. He said they were delicious and just like he remembers them from the restaurant.
Oh, I think Bob was the guy, my studio driver friend. So nice to hear. I was going to tell you about this when we did the butter. I don't want to tell you how old I was before I realized that the measurements were on the side of the butter stick. Because, just so you know, I was a waitress for many years, 25 probably, before I ever stepped foot in the kitchen. I didn't start to cook in the kitchen, cook at all, until right when Katie was born, and that's 30-some years ago. So I was 30-something, so I went a long time without cooking. My mom's knees got bad, and I went into the kitchen. Actually, it was when I was pregnant, and I was probably too big to be waddling around the dining room. But I went in the kitchen and was working with my dad. So I always figure if I can learn how to cook and do anything as a mature adult, anybody can. But there's one of my things. Here's 2 tablespoons. You just cut it off of there and then put it in your little dish and microwave it.
So another comment says, oh, your dad heard that, LOL. And I think that was about the pumpkin secret.
Was that you, May? I hope it was.
It was May.
Yeah, she rat me out. She would. But she's a victim of my dad, too, because as my co-worker, Dad used to put hot plates in the window, and she'd actually get burn marks on her arm. They'd be so hard, and he always had something very pithy and snappy to say to her. Hot enough for you, or whatever. But
we also have a comment. You are awesome, and we love you. When is the next episode of Cooking with Connie? Which if everyone saw the setup Rocky has in Trevor right now, it looks like the church hosts a regular cooking show.
I am going to have to get some skills happening here. Rocky, you're so wonderful. And for you, Chris, thank you so much to be my Ed McMahon. I don't know, I'd be floundering here without seeing your sweet, warm face in front of me. What else could we? I don't know.
Here's
How
a good
about
one.
some suggestions?
How long do you store extra batter?
Oh,
It's a great
whose
question.
question was that? It was genius.
Chris Dixon.
Well, Chris Dixon, you just put it in the refrigerator, and it lasts a couple of days. Now, it lasts a couple of days, but buttermilk has a tendency to oxidize. And that means when you leave it in the refrigerator overnight and you come back, you'll see the top of it is kind of dark. It's darkening. So it turns dark as it is exposed to the air. You could take your saran and be sure that it's laying right on top of the mix. And that really helps. Even an airtight container like this, when you put the lid on it, there's space in there. So take some saran and lay it right on the wet mix. That will help. But if you forget to do that, you can just take your spoon and scrape the little oxidized. It doesn't hurt. it's dark. Throw it out and make pancakes. I will tell you that overnight like that, the pancakes will thin down considerably. So you want to try to have a little bit of extra dry mix, thicken it up the next day or two when you're making it.
Now, is there any chance that we can use this recipe to make waffles, or is that against the rules?
That's against the rules. It's against the rules. You can, of course you can, absolutely, but they're not as good. When you make a waffle mix, it has the dry mix, and then it has, for its real leavening and mix, what's completely different is that you whip the egg whites. So instead of mixing the white and the yellow in here, you separate the white, you whip the egg whites, and then you fold it into the batter. And that's the real difference in waffle batter.
Oh.
And what makes it, because it's denser, it's heavier as it sits in there. And I have to do a shout out and an apology here. Kent Butler, I'm sorry. You should be having French toast tonight. Baron's French toast is your favorite. I make it for you every Shrove Tuesday. And I don't have it. Even if I did make it here, that would probably be cruel anyways. And
I would send a video to Kent of me eating that French toast and enjoying every last bit of it.
Oh, no, not doing that. That's my friend. But I'm thinking of you tonight, Kent, and we'll get together and be making French toast soon on thick French toast egg bread. Well, might as well say while I'm saying difference. Nobody asked this question. What do you not see on this grill when I put the pancake batter on it?
Butter.
Da, 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 da.
Oil or butter?
Anybody notice in the chat yet, Chris? What?
Anybody want to say anything in the chat on what they
What
do not?
What do you not see? What
Jen Stanley says she doesn't see any butter on that.
Jen Stanley?
No oil,
I
no
love Jen
butter.
Stanley. That's because you don't put butter under pancakes. You put the butter under French toast. And not that it really makes any difference in the world, except it's cosmetic. And my dad wouldn't allow me to do it. So you put the butter down, and then you put your pancake on top of it. And by the way, my son-in-law, Lyndon, tried this as a test last weekend, and he did it with bacon grease. Oh yeah, the bacon grease. And then we tested it, and honestly, you couldn't even really taste any bacon grease on it, particularly when you pour some nice warm real maple syrup on it. So see how nice and even these look? There's no white rings or anything like that. That's because when you put butter underneath them. And my little griddle here is, I didn't notice till I took it out of the box that it had a broken knob on it. So I'm kind of struggling with what is its hot temperature. Because I'm really not sure where, except the light just came on, so I know it's heating up again. So I'm gonna let that cook a little, and then I'll show you that last thing. Anything else, Chris? Or
Yeah, I was just checking in with Donna. Donna has joined us in the in-studio audience. And I did see a comment on here of when the deliveries will be made. So I was checking with Donna, and we had one delivery that will be made here shortly. Once we get off of here, I will then go deliver those pancakes.
what would anybody like to see in a cooking?
Uh-oh, Connie is entertaining the idea of this being an ongoing cooking with Connie.
I like my mug. I'm having some tea
Omelets.
here. You know what's the most exciting thing today, everybody? I put lipstick on. I haven't put lipstick on since this whole thing started.
I think that's how you sign off every cooking with Connie, was with a kiss.
Well, I will, because you can see my lips, because any girl knows that if you put lipstick on and you put the mask over it, you get a big lip print on the inside, which is lipstick grease, and it doesn't ever come out.
So we have chili. People would like would like for you to teach how to make chili and biscuits.
Who said that? Who asked for biscuits?
That was the Vittorios.
Oh, okay. Biscuits is difficult because I've never really been able to do a very good job of my mom's biscuits. So I'm going to have to practice on that a little. It's one of the blue cheese is nothing compared to the chagrin I feel for not being able to create mom's biscuits, which were thick. But yes, I could. Okay, let's see how it looks. See, do you see? Can you zoom in on this, Rocky? This is what happens when you put the butter under the pancake. You get this not pretty look. Why is that? Because you put a layer of butter and then you've laid the pancake on it, and in all those little space in there from the butter, it's not sitting flat on the grill to make a nice, lovely look. I will tell you, it doesn't taste any different. That's true. So I think we're done.
I think that's perfect. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here tonight.
We'll take some more suggestions.
Thank you,
I
Connie.
think I will stop recording and we can maybe stay live for a little bit longer.
Connie.
Yeah, we could stop recording.
Oh, don't stop
This is so much fun.
Because I love Rocky and Chris. They're my friends who did this. I made them bacon. Yeah, because bacon is really good. And no, I don't make bacon at Shrove Tuesday because because bacon is really hard to make for so many, many people, and people tend to eat 80 pieces of it. But I just said Shrove Tuesday, and I want to thank you because this is the last night before Lent, and Lent starts tomorrow. And tomorrow at noon, Pastor Sam is having a devotion on Facebook Live and on our YouTube channel at 12 noon. So tune in. And I think Sam said he was doing that on Sunday. And now he has to, if I was wrong and only just imagined that. But tune in tomorrow to our Facebook page and have a noon devotion with Sam. And it will be a wonderful way for us all to start together on the journey to the cross.